Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Waves of Your Soul. First of all, I want to say a huge Happy New Year. Thank you so much for joining me on this new year of 2023. It's the first video I'm filming this year and I am so excited to be back. I know I've taken quite a little bit of a break and I'll get into that in my future catch-up that I do every month, like monthly catch-up where I share faves and I do little live catch-up and stuff. But for this first video, I wanted to say Happy New Year. I wish you all to be healthy, to be happy, to feel safe and loved, and to give yourselves the ability to go after all your dreams. For my first video of the year, I wanted to do my roundup video, sharing with you my favorite tarot and oracle decks of 2022. I was gonna do a top 5 tarot decks and then a top 5 oracle decks of the new decks I got in 2022, like the best of the best from the decks that I got last year. And then I saw Lisa Papes do a hashtag, I think it's called Top 10 Tarot 2022, where she shares her favorite tarot and oracle decks of last year that she got last year that were the highlight. So I decided to do a VR to Lisa and to share with you my favorites of last year this way. So if you're not watching Lisa, I'm sure most of you are very familiar with her channel. I really enjoy watching her channel. I really enjoy the way she talks about decks. I'll leave the link to her video below, and if you want to do a VR or if you want to watch other people who are doing VR to this, you can click on the hashtag and you're going to see all the other responses from everyone. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 decks that I got last year. We're talking tarot and oracle, we're doing the top 10, and to make my life easier, I decided not to use any decks that I received from November onwards, because I felt like 2 months wasn't enough for me to say this is an absolute favorite, especially because November and December my health was really bad, so I didn't get a ton of time to play with decks, so it didn't feel fair for me to categorize any of my more recent decks. It was extremely difficult to give it a ranking. Maybe I'll change my mind tomorrow in terms of which number. The 7 could go at 8 and 5 could go at 6. The one that I know for sure would not change is number 1. Number 1 is gonna be number 1. It's my fave, it's my boo. So this one, it's safe. The other ones, they could change depending on the day you're asking me, to be honest. So let's not be too strict about this. This is all in good fun. If it is your first time here, hi! Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Marine. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle, and self-empowerment related. Here on my channel, we love talking about tarot and oracle decks. As you're gonna see today, they're a huge passion of mine, and I also really enjoy doing pick a card reading. You can find all of my socials in the description box below. My Instagram, my TikTok, my email. You can find also all the names of the decks that I'm gonna talk about today. So if you're ever thinking, what the hell is she talking about? It's all in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get into my top 10 decks of 2022. So just a couple of points before I get into it. The first one is, I hope you're not hearing my fan, but it is absolutely boiling right now. It's the middle of tropical summer where I live, so it's about 40 degrees outside, and I'm just melting like an ice cream right now. So I've had to put the fan on because I don't have aircon at home, so hopefully that won't be too loud. But if you hear a noise in the background, I'm just trying to survive the extreme weather conditions. Second of all, I've tried to make this video more interesting by choosing 5 tarot and 5 oracles. That's what I had originally planned. So hopefully, whether you're a tarot lover or an oracle deck lover, there should be something there for you. I've also put a mix of indie and mass market. I didn't do it on purpose, but it turns out that there's a good mix. So I guess it just shows that you don't have to spend a ton of money to get yourself a good deck. Okay, let's start with the actual ranking. At number 10, we have a tarot deck, an indie tarot deck called Tarot by Caro. I bought this one from the e-shop Roi de Coupe, which is based in France. They stock a lot of indie decks, but you can get this directly from the artist. It doesn't come with a guidebook, it just comes with one of those little leaflets, but it follows the RWS very closely, and so for me it's super easy to read. I did edge my copy in red because I've been using this deck so much that it was already showing like some signs of dirtiness. Here are the backs, and this is a deck I got almost at the end slash beginning of last year, because I got it for Christmas 2021, but I only kind of started using it right at the beginning of 2022. So that's why I counted it for my decks for last year, even though maybe I didn't get it in 2022. It was only by a few days, and it's been one of my most used decks of 2022, and for the pure fact that it's a RWS inspired deck that ticks all of my boxes. There are different skin tones, which I love. The artwork gives me so much emotions. All the court cards truly represent the elements that they embody so well. So for example, the Knight of Wands is literally on fire. In the cups, for example, people's dresses are made out of water. There's a lot of emotion in this deck for an artwork that could look quite simple, and I don't really know the right way to call things, but simple doesn't mean simplified, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And here it's clean, but it does the job. I love the fact that the wands are on fire. I love the color against the dark contrast, and this is my go-to deck for reading for others, really, or for myself when I just need like day-to-day. I want something that I'm not gonna be having to spend too much time deciphering. I don't want to be doing some meditation or path working or anything like that. I just want to know what's the tea. This is my deck. I love the Fool, and the Magician is one of my all-time favorite magicians ever. Let's see if I can find it. Just look at this. Those gloves, girl, she is serving it. This is the moment. I'm here for it. I love this deck very, very much. Definitely one of my most used decks of last year. Let's move on to number 8 with our first oracle deck. This is the Unshakable Inner Peace oracle cards. This is a mass market deck, and I have been loving the hell out of this little deck purely because it's easy. And sometimes your girl doesn't want to be raking your brain for hours trying to find what the universe is telling you. Sometimes you just want your answers and you want to move on. I'll get into the cards, but the guidebook is actually really well done. We have, for every single card, we get a really good message. We get a divine assignment, which is like an expansion of the message. Sometimes there's even an action or a prompt to put things into action. And then we always get a question that I think could be used as a journaling prompt, or a starter for like your own little introspection, or maybe it could even be a question that you use to create your own tarot spread. I've done that before. You get that for every single card, and I think that's brilliant. So the guidebook is really well done. It's definitely tailored around the healing, empowering side, which are all things I love. You know, I always say I love self-empowerment, things that after you use the deck, it's gonna make you feel like, yes, I can do this. Like, it's like a kind of like a cheerleader in a deck, without being too cheesy and without occulting the fact that life can be shit. So I really appreciate that about this deck. There are definitely some cards that will show you, yes, shit is hard, but you can get over it and you can get through it, and let me help you how. So the other reason why this deck absolutely deserves to be in my top 10 is that I love the artwork, and it pairs so well, this type of artwork, with all of my collage style decks that I love using. One of them is very, very high in my top 10. You're gonna see it later. It's the perfect match for this deck. But even decks that I've had longer, such as the Uncommon Tarot, the Muse Tarot, all of those kind of collage style decks that I think go beautifully with this. The Moonchild, the Starchild. I could keep going all day. How many collage style decks is there in the market? A lot, and I have a lot of them. Second of all, on every single card, as you can see, you have a title and you have a question. And I love that so much because, like I said, sometimes I just like to pull a card, get a message, get a couple of prompts, and then from there I can journal, or I can make my own tarot spreads, or I can even think about that answer in my head, but it's just like a starting point to help me move on from that feeling of stuckness that I might have in me. So I really adore this deck. It's affordable. I think it's around 25 euros, maybe even cheaper for those of you who use dollars. It's beautiful. There are different skin tones, different body size. I don't know if there are different ages, I can't really remember. It's wonderful. The Unshakable Inner Peace Oracle. Let's move on. At number 8, we have the Poesis Oracle. I have the French version, which in French is mass market. In English, it is currently sold as an indie deck, so it would be more expensive. But considering we have it now mass market in French, I have hope for you guys that this will be picked up mass market in English as well. So for those of you who don't know this deck is very unique in the sense that because it's called Poesis, every single card is linked to a poem. So in the guidebook, as you can see, the messages here provided are not going to be related to divinatory message or general guidance or even a healing message. They are poems written by the artist. All of those poems exist online in her website, the Poesis website, as a PDF library. This is why I'm saying if you enjoy this deck, I think you could easily get the French version, and then you could find the poems in English online, you could write them here or make your own little guidebook. You could even write the English keywords here on the cards and off you go. That's just one tip, but of course if you want to get the indie, you're welcome to do what you want. Or you don't have to get it at all. You do you, boo. Here are the backs, and this is a black and white deck, which is not normally my preferred type of decks. I love color very much, so the fact that this is black and white is not necessarily something that attracts me originally, but this deck has something truly special in the fact that every single deck being linked to a poem makes it something unique in my collection. I don't have anything like this. I love the keywords as well. The keywords are very expensive. Here we have try, confidence, even uterus, patience, heal, disillusion, feel, flow, noise. As you can see, the keywords are very unique. In my opinion, they're not your stereotypical oracle kind of keywords. And even though it's in black and white and originally maybe not my favorite art style, this has completely grown on me because I feel like the art style truly matches the energy of the deck so well. So I've truly enjoyed using this deck so much. The fact that it's more pared down artistically speaking, it pairs really well with a lot of different kind of tarot decks. If you wanted to use this as a way to expand on your tarot messages, you totally could. This is one of my favorite cards, Abandon, and look at this wave. Like, this honestly has been most of January for me, and this is why it's taken me a little bit of a long time to come back to you guys, but we're getting there, waiting for the tide to wash us ashore, and we're back up standing. So I truly adore this deck. It's got so much healing and magical properties from the poems, from the keywords. It's great for doing bigger spreads because there's a lot of cards. I think there's like 78 cards, 77. It's great for using on its own, for pairing with tarot. It's just good for everything. I don't have anything bad to say about it. At number 7, we have another tarot deck. And this is a mass market tarot deck called the Vox Arcana. It's published by Scarabeo. This is truly the surprise of 2022 for me. It's a deck I got, I think I received it like around the middle of the year. I can't really remember now because sometimes I order things and they take months to arrive. So between the time I decide to buy something and the time I actually receive them, we could be talking months or even sometimes a year. That's happened before. So I can't really remember how long I've had this, but I've had this for a good few months by now. And this was really the surprise for me because this is a collaborative art deck, meaning that every single card on this deck is done by a different artist. Now, normally this is not the kind of deck that I enjoy. There's quite a few out there in the tarot community that do those kind of a card done by a different artist. On top of my head, the most famous ones are called the 78 tarot, and they come out I think every year or every couple of years with different themes. Normally I really struggle to find cohesion in those type of deck. The Vox Arcana though is the first deck that does collaborative art where I found cohesion and I enjoyed using it, and I enjoyed using it so much that it was the only deck I used for maybe over a month and a half, which is unheard of for me. I get bored quite easily, not of decks, but I like to rotate and then I'll come back to them. It's very rare for me to just use one deck over a month. Like sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 on the go, but this one, it totally kept my attention and it totally kept me wanting to go back for more. Maybe because of the fact that there was so many different voices in this deck. The fact that it's called the Vox Arcana, it literally means that they consider the way they approach this deck was that every artist would be a different voice in the concert that would make up this orchestra of tarot. So think of every artist being a different instrument in an orchestra. They all come together to create this beautiful melody, and you can really feel that in the deck. Even though it's different art style, different artists, there's not even a theme, but the vibe of it, the energy, the intention, which I think is truly the keyword here. The intention is cohesive. It's the same together to create this melodic vibe of it. So I really adore that. It's a low scarabeo deck, so it's fairly affordable. You'll find it fairly easily, I think. To keep in the musical theme, there's even in the guidebook some artists who each picked a song to go with the cards, to say that maybe they were listening to a specific song when they were working on a card. Overall, even though there's different styles, like look at those two are a very good example, there might be a different styles, but I would say 90% of the feel is fantasy inspired / dreamlike fantasy, etc. So for me, who enjoys very much that kind of world, it's perfect. But even the couple of more modern looking cards don't look out of place somehow, I guess, again because of what I was talking about, the intention being that every artist is contributing to something bigger than themselves. Let's keep it going with number 6. At number 6 we have a French deck. You know I have to include at least one French deck in my ranking. I can't help myself. But for number 6 we have Or et Ombre, Oracle d'Alchimie Lunaire, which is by Stéphanie Lafranc and Vic O. This is a mass market oracle deck. I've introduced it in my channel. I think I've mentioned it in a haul. I will also, of course, be talking about it in my French deck series that I started last year, that I'm going to continue this year, where I show you all the French decks I own. I tell you how I rank them in terms of how easily they are to approach, whether you speak French or not. Even if the only French word you know is merde or oulala, you will know which decks you can pick up, or which decks I think would be a little bit harder. I give you all the tea about all the French deck in that series. There's one episode out already, which I will include in the card somewhere and in the description box below. And I am, of course, gonna continue this series in the new year because I have a lot of French decks to show you. This one was one of my favorites that I got last year. First off, can we talk about this giant guidebook? Every single card you have a really good message, and you have a lot of keywords for what I would call the major arcana cards of the decks, which are the lunar phases, which are supposed to be more potent cards in the deck. You have even bigger messages, like the messages are longer, you still have the keywords, but you also have a ritual. So of course this is all in French, but you could use an app like Google Translate, where you just scan the text, it translates in front of your eyes. And the essence of this deck, I believe, would make it also still approachable for those of you out there that enjoy esoteric studies, occult studies, and astrology, because of the nature of it being lunar alchemy, which I don't know if I said that, but the fact that it's called Or et Ombre, Oracle of Lunar Alchemy. And you're going to see that very much those themes in this particular deck. So here are the backs, which, can we talk about this? Girl, this is giving category is coolest back I've ever seen, for sure. I love the hands, I love eyes, I love this kind of like blue, shiny vibes. It's slightly raised, so when you touch it, it does this tarot ASMR kind of vibe. I love that. The edges are in gold, and honestly I don't know if it's gonna be super sturdy in the long term, because I've used this deck quite a lot and it's showing a little bit of use of tear in terms of the edging, but the backs seem to be holding really well. So it might be one of those that you have to re-edge, or maybe even take the edging off if you don't like that kind of metallic edging. Now let's talk about the actual deck. So the actual deck is built of different categories. Like I was saying, the first main category, what would be the major arcana cards or the equivalent, are the different lunar phases. So here we have the premier croissant. The first category is all the different moon phases, waning, waxing, all of that. You also have a category that's all about animals, alchemical animals purely. So animals that are very important in esoteric and occult studies, that are linked to the alchemical process. And you have fire animals, water animals, earth animals and air animals. You also have the planets, so Saturn, Uranus, Venus, etc. So you also have the alchemical phases, so Luna Citrinita is one of the alchemical phase. And finally, here we have Saturn. And finally, I think there's like another few cards that are linked to just astrology in general, like you've got North Node, South Node, eclipses, supermoon, things like that. There's a lot here to delve into. There's definitely a lot there to study, and this might not please everybody, the look of it. It's very unique. I don't have anything like this in my collection, but I adore this artwork so much. I think the guidebook is beautifully written. I've learned so much about alchemy, so much about working with the moon with this, and overall it's a very magical witchy deck. If you're into witchy stuff, this is definitely a deck for you. It's very potent, it's very deep. It's not the kind of deck I pull a card and I read my message and off I go. I have to sit with those cards for a few days, let it marinate. It's very, very potent work, but I can't recommend it enough. I think it's gorgeous. I adore the artwork, and there's so much you could do with this, especially if you do like astrological readings. You could just take out the planets, cards, etc. Overall, I can't say anything but good things about this deck. It's brought me so much. I've done a lot of deep work with this last year, and that's why it's coming at number 6. Okay, we are halfway through. We are at my number 5, if I can count. Let's see. Did I mix myself up, or can I still do basic math? I don't know. I wouldn't bet on myself. So at number 5, we have another French deck. Am I predictable? Yes. Am I ashamed? Not at all. This is a very me deck. So you expected, I think, any of you who saw this deck on my channel expected this deck to be up there in my top 10 somewhere, because it's everything I love. So this deck is called l'Oracle des dauphins et baleines. It's a mass market French deck, like I said, so you probably can find it on amazon.fr and things like that. And it literally translates to the Oracle of dolphins and whales. And hello, my name is Marine. The name of my channel is The Waves of Your Soul. I am obsessed with the ocean. I'm a walking cliche. I saw this and I was just like, add to cart. Of course I had to include this in my top 10 because I adore this deck so much. It's everything I love and I can't recommend it enough. So it comes with a very cute little guidebook, and despite the name of saying dolphins and whales, yes, there's a lot of dolphins and yes, there's a lot of whales. There's also other animals from the ocean. There's even an ocean card. For every single card you have a keyword, you have a message as if that particular entity or animal is speaking to you, and then you have a guidance, like if you've drawn this card it means. You also have a little mantra that you can tell yourself, and you have a meditation for every single card, which I love. I love when decks go above and beyond, not just your stereotypical message, but they give you a journaling prompt or a mantra or a ritual or a meditation. Like, I'm here for that. And honestly, the messages are very small. I think they would be easy to translate. Plus, if you fall in love with the images, you might not even want to use a guidebook and just use your own associations with those particular animals, because the artwork, as you're gonna see, is everything. So let's talk about those backs. First of all, 2022 was the year of people giving us amazing backs. Like the deck I've just shown you, l'Oracle d'Orion at number 6, was absolutely delicious backing. This is in my top 3 favorite backings. Also, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's got everything I love. There's a whale, there's the lunar phases, there's the ocean. Yes, please give it to me. If you don't know yet, French people are obsessed with shiny things apparently, because most of our decks have got metallic edging. Don't ask me, I don't know why, but apparently we love it. But the star of the show truly for me for this deck is the artwork. I adore this art style so much. And for those of you who have been pining over the Healing Wave Tarot, which is an indie deck, the ocean deck that was very limited print, that went out of print and that is not going to be reprinted, and that a lot of people are pining over, this is giving that same vibe, but as an oracle style for much cheaper, because the Healing Waves now goes for crazy prices, whereas this is about 20 euros, maybe 25. So of course, tarot, oracle, we can't compare, but in terms of the energy of the deck, this gives me very much similar vibes. I adore this artwork so much. Like, oh my god, look at this shark whale, whale shark, shark whale. How do you say that in English? Let me know in the comments, please. I feel like it's whale shark, but shark whale doesn't sound too bad either. But I feel like it's whale shark. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, please. I absolutely adore anything related to the ocean, and I'm very fortunate that where I currently live, which if you don't know, I live in Reunion right now, which is an island in the Indian Ocean. It's a tropical island off the coast of Madagascar and Mauritius. And whales and dolphins are the kind of animals that are more likely to see than rabbits and foxes, like you guys might see in the northern hemisphere, or squirrels. I'm never gonna see those when I step out the door, but I might see a dolphin or a whale, especially during winter time for us, so during June, July, August. Humpback whales come back from the Antarctica to the shores of Reunion to have their babies. They come to warmer waters, and we see this beautiful spectacle of humpback whales. So the humpback whale is a super important animal for me because it's something that I grew up with and I grew up seeing, and every year it's like my favorite time of year is when the whales come back. But also the dolphins, they're here all year, and it's very common to see them when you are going on a boat trip, or even if you're lucky, you're just walking by the ocean and you see them. So I love working with that energy of the ocean, but as you can see, we don't just have whales and dolphins here, we have other kind of animals, and the artwork is so healing, it's so gentle, it's so beautiful that this is like truly a hug deck. This is like getting a hug from the ocean, and I feel like I've shown you every single card and I'm not even sorry. Look at this octopus, it's so cute. There's even a mermaid card, which, come on, how perfect is that? For me, it was truly the perfect deck to use since I've gotten it as a healing deck, as a hug deck, when I am stuck in bed because I suffer from chronic pain, chronic illness and all of that, and I can't actually go to the ocean even though I'm not that far from it. Sometimes I'm bedbound and I can't actually go. This is the perfect alternative. Like, I still get that ocean energy very much without having to physically be there. Let's move on to number 4 in my ranking, and we're back to tarot with Le Tarot Arc-en-Ciel, which exists in English under the name of Tarot at the End of the Rainbow. A lot of you guys told me that, so thank you so much for those of you who did. For you guys, it's published by Scarabeo in for English, for those of you who are English speaking, but if you are French speaking, it exists also in French, which is awesome. So this deck is another huge surprise for 2022. As soon as I saw walkthroughs of it, I knew I wanted it. And then I found someone online here that was getting rid of a lot of their decks in Reunion because they were trying to move back to France, so they had to downsize their library, and I was like, sure, I'll take that off your hands, no problem. So I actually got this deck for a very good deal, and I wanted it anyway, and ever since I've received it, I've not been able to put it down. And this is why I'm saying it's a surprise, because I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, but it reads so well that it's definitely one of my most used decks of the year. I've edged my copy in green, and here are the backs. So as per the name suggests, Tarot at the End of the Rainbow, as you can imagine, the rainbows are a big theme here, but this is also very much inspired by fairies, gnomes, goblins, and everything related to this kind of like magical Tolkien vibes world. And I love this so much. This is potentially my favorite fairy inspired deck ever, because it's not just fairies. I have other fairy decks I enjoy, but in terms of like fairy tale, I guess that's more the word. So you don't just have fairies, you have goblins and satyrs and leprechauns and creepy looking dude. For fairy tales inspired world, this is my favorite, absolutely. There's something so magical and enchanting about this deck, and yet the fact that it's inspired by RWS makes it super easy to read for me. I love the fact that it's borderless. I find the artwork so beautiful. The light work, because in every single card there is a rainbow, even in the death card, because it's called Tarot at the End of the Rainbow. So the light work is gorgeous. Even look, in the tower, the rainbow is the thunder. I love that. So it's always like a reminder to look for the magical. I look at the rainbow as a way to say, look for the magic in life. Look for the magic in places you might not see it. And this is truly, for me, it speaks to my imagination, it speaks to my inner child. It speaks to the part of me that loves the whimsy and that loves like using imagination and that loves to escape to other world. And I love reading books that are set in other world, and I love reading books where there's magic and stuff, and this speaks to all of that. There are some cards here that I think are so well thought out, particularly like the Strength card, for example. I think is absolutely gorgeous. This Three of Pentacles is definitely going to be giving me Hobbits vibe. There's a lot of here that gives Tolkien vibes, and I'm not mad about that. This one gives a little bit more Harry Potter, again, not mad about it. This is my favorite card of the deck. I find this Six of Swords super emotional, super potent. There's something about it that feels very unique and deep. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I love those swords as statues that have been here for a long time. It's like saying that sometimes our troubles have been there for so long that to move away from them, it feels like moving away from things that are truly set in stone and part of the past. So love this one. For me, it's hugely underrated. I don't see that many people talk about it, maybe because there's so many decks that come out, but for me this was one of my favorite things that I discovered last year. Okay, this is super exciting. We're getting in my top 3, and at number 3 we have my last oracle deck of the list, my favorite oracle of 2022 that I bought in 2022 anyway, is the Energy Archaeology Oracle deck by Ashley Stinson and illustrated by Kelly Finnan. This is an indie deck, and I'm gonna start by saying it's not the cheapest deck out there. So if you're looking for something more affordable, my previous Oracle decks options are definitely more that. But this is one of those decks that I'm actually personally very happy I invested in because of how I've been using it and how it stands out from my collection and how I don't have anything else like it. So this comes with a beautiful guidebook that's currently by my bedside table and I can't be bothered to get up. So just know that it comes with a great guidebook. But in this particular oracle dedicated to bones, I know the creator is working on new oracle decks that will not be focused on bones but on other parts of our bodies, because I think her work is built around the idea of 5 realms. So we have the bones realm, the I think there's like muscles and nerves, and I'm not sure, but I feel like there's different oracles that are going to be created for different realms. The first one is the bones, which makes sense. It's the core of who we are. If we think of our body, what's the primary essence of our body first? What do we start with? Bones. And then you build on top of that. So the artwork is very unique. Some people might find it spooky and a little macabre, but for me, I find it very beautiful and poetic. Every single card represents a different bone, and you also have a keyword for every single bone here. And then in the guidebook you get a lot of information in terms of where the bone is placed and what it means, the messages, where it's linked, other cards that might be associated with it. You get journaling prompts. This deck is wonderful. If you're interested in this, just definitely watch walkthroughs. There's a lot of good ones online. But for me, this is my favorite oracle deck of last year because because of the work I've done with this and because of how it speaks to me. Someone who is disabled from chronic pain, chronic illness, this kind of work is hugely important. It's a core part of my day-to-day life. Working with my body determines what I'm doing day to day. Like my body's health, my body state determines what I'm able to do, what I'm not able to do. And having a deck that allows me to have conversation with my body in new ways is hugely beneficial. So I adore this deck for the work I've been able to do and that I'll continue to do next year, because oh my god, there's so much to unpack. This is not the kind of deck that I would personally use one card for a day and then keep changing like this, because it's too much information for me. It's the kind of deck that I'll work with the card for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even 2 months, and then move on. But I know some people who use this deck just like any other oracle deck, and that do daily draws or pulls and things like that, and use several cards. Like for me, not yet. It's too much. There's a lot to unpack. So it's been a one card at a time kind of deck, but it's brought me so much information, so much empowerment, and so much knowledge that I can't not give it my top oracle spot. Okay, we are on the top 2, and I would love to know if you can guess what deck you think is gonna be my number one. Please comment down below. I would love to know if you've guessed it. I think a lot of you might actually. If you have been watching my videos, I feel like a lot of you might guess what number one spot will be, because I'm slightly predictable, and I'll give you a hint. Let's just say it's kind of water related. So let's see if you can guess in the comments. Let me know. Before we get to number one, let's talk about number two. We have, ta-da, the Telesma Tarot. Oh my god, did I fall in love hard with this deck. This is an indie tarot deck. The guidebook is just keywords, and then you've got like Golden Dawn's title, because this is giving a little bit of Tothy vibes. Definitely RWS mixed with a bit of Toth. Thoth, teeth, whatever you say. Thoth is not necessarily my preferred system, but it's not stopped me from absolutely loving this deck, because I feel like it's just a sprinkle. It's just a sprinkle. Here are the backs, which are delightful. The cards are bigger than average tarot size, so for my peeps with smaller hands, just be aware. You could obviously trim it, but just know that this is quite a large and tall deck, and it's collage style. And it is absolutely delightful. I fell in love so hard for this deck. I got it right around the middle of the year. It was summer for you guys, but it was winter for me. I got this during Leo season, and it was everything that Leo season should be. And I'm a Leo rising, so obviously I love a good Leo vibe deck. This is over the top, it's busy, it's colorful, it's in your face. It is cosmic yet so rooted in the day-to-day. You see cosmic beings mixed with people drinking coffee, mixed with pancakes and money, and I'm here for all of it. There is so much personality packed in this deck. I have such a good time with it. I can never use this deck and be sad or mad about it. Like, this gives me so much energy. This feels like getting a kick up the bum. This feels like getting a surge of fire, some kind of power. It's super empowering, and a lot of fire energy in this deck. Like, if you're an Aries, Sagittarius or Leo, or if you are liking fire in your chart and you want to work with that energy, this is it for me. This is the kind of deck that truly is feels very fiery. Look at the World card. Every card is iconic. And is it very busy? Yes. Is it very in your face and not subtle at all? Yes. But I love that so much. Like I was saying, some of it is kind of Thoth inspired. So instead of temperance, we have art. So it's mostly seen in the majors, like the Thoth influence for me. Otherwise, I kind of am able to read this mostly using RWS inspiration. You get a couple of extra cards. The Sun and the Moon card, you have extra cards if you want to choose them. I just put it all in there because I'm greedy and I love it so much, so more is more. This is everything I could want from a collage deck. I mean, it made top 2, so you know how much I love it. Everything that's on the card, it makes sense. You can tell there was intention there, and for that reason I appreciate it so much, because you can tell that the person who made this, they know how to read tarot, and thank you, because as tarot readers, we need that. Okay, last chance for those of you who have not yet commented to try and guess which deck is at my number one spot. My favorite deck I got in 2022. This is your chance, peeps. Let's see who wins. Because I'm about to reveal that at the top one, the best deck of 2022 for me was the Flow Tarot. Oh my god. How could I not? First of all, look at those backs. This is like, if I was to make a tarot deck, I would have probably chosen a very, very similar backing due to, like I was saying before, my name being Marine and the name of my channel being The Waves of Your Soul and me being obsessed with anything ocean related. Like, this is perfection to me. On top of that, the Flow Tarot is so unique. It brings something so unique to my collection, to my practice, and it opened my mind so much, and that I can't not give it number one. So this is an independently published deck that I got mine on Etsy, so I leave the name of the Etsy shop below. I think the name of the creator is Dreaming Lotus, and as you can see, it's a photographic deck. Now, I have very few photographic decks in my collection, but I'm starting to realize that I have a soft spot for them, because the ones I do have, they do something to me, to my insides, in a good way. Not like dodgy pizza, more like butterflies, right? They move me in ways that sometimes art might not. And maybe it's because this is real life, this is truly life, this is what we see, this is what we experience, this is nature. And I love nature so much that sometimes when I look at documentaries, nature documentaries, 9 times out of 10 I cry. I find something so emotional about nature and animals and stuff, like it's so beautiful, and the fact that we live in the same place as this is like, oh my god, how lucky are we? So nature makes me cry, and photographic decks, I'm realizing, do something to me and move me in ways that maybe art decks don't, or just differently. The other reason is this being called a flow tarot, the entirety of this deck is based around the water element, but it's done in a way that is so clever that you don't feel like you're reading only with a water deck. So you could think that a water deck would be purely for relationships or very kind of cups vibes in terms of tarot, but actually this has peaks and valleys, and this has different energies. And even though every single card here is inspired by water, you do get the fire energy and the earth energy and stuff from the choices that were made by the creator from those existing pictures. Like the curation of the pictures is 10 out of 10 out of this world. So for every single card you see the name of the card, and of course, because it's a water deck, the suits have been renamed. So instead of pentacles you have ponds, and it's all linked to fresh water, which makes complete sense. Instead of swords you have snow, which I think makes a lot of sense as well, because winter, for me, winter and swords energy and the air suit, it goes. For wands you have waves, and it's easy to remember because the first letter is always the same. So waves, wands, swords, snow, pentacles, ponds, and then cups are clouds. So that's the renaming. And then for the major arcana, all the cards are the same except from death, it's called transformation, because water doesn't die. So they had to adapt. And then you also have a keyword for every single card. So here for the 3 of cups we have saturate. For the page of cups we have rise above, and I find the keywords so interesting and so unique because they're not the stereotypical keywords that I would associate with those cards. Like the hierophant, the channel, yes, that makes a lot of sense. But the 10 of swords perspective, I think that's brilliant, because a lot of time we could see endings or something along the line of despair, something like that. But the 10 of swords being given perspective, it just opens your mind to a new perspective, like no puns intended. Power in this deck, because nature can be forceful and powerful and wild, so this deck feels like there's a lot of wildness held here. It feels like you're just a mere spectator on the edge of something, which is a complete different perspective from decks that really put you at the center stage. Here, using this deck, you're not at the center stage. You're looking at something. You're like a spectator. You're invited, but you're not the main actor. And I like that. It helps to remind me that I'm not the center of the world. And you're not either. And trust me, as a Leo rising, sometimes I need to be reminded that the world doesn't revolve around me, okay? Like, I need that sometimes, and this definitely does that. I just adore this deck so much for all of the reasons I stated. There's so many things that obviously speak to me on a very personal level as well. Like, this is something that I'm very familiar with living where I am. Cyclones and hurricanes, I'm very familiar with that. The deep ocean, like the wave suit in particular, feels like I'm just taking a walk near my house. And the king of waves is, or king of wands, is a humpback whale. Literally looks like a picture I could have been taking myself from living where I am. And so for all of those reasons, there's just so many touches that make this deck feel so close to me. And yet the whole soul no suit doesn't have anything to do with my environment, but it might have a lot to do with your environment, because maybe where you live there's a lot of snow, or maybe there's a lot of rivers. So for that reason, I think this deck could speak to a lot of people, especially if you like to work with nature decks, especially if you like to be reminded that there's something bigger than you, expanding your mind, changing your perspective, and be willing to look outside of your own maybe comfort zone. This is truly magical. This is magic in a box. I don't have anything bad to say about it. Let's finish on the Six of Wands, which is a little Nemo. This is truly deserving of my number one spot. It didn't come with a box, and it does come now with a guidebook. I think you can purchase a guidebook or maybe a PDF. At the time when I purchased it, there wasn't a guidebook, but I think now there is. But I don't know if it's like a printed one or a PDF one, or I'm not sure. Have a look on her Etsy shop. So here we have it, my friends. This was my top 10 tarot and oracle decks of 2022. All the decks I got last year that truly moved me, or changed my practice, or taught me something, or shocked me, or just they didn't leave me indifferent. Like, they made me feel something. Qualifying point for being on the list is, did you make me feel something? And all of those decks did. And I hope you enjoyed seeing them. So thank you so much if you've made it this far. If you guessed my top deck, you're the best. I love you so much, and thank you for being here. And until my next video, I want to send you so many good vibes. I wish you a wonderful day and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!